We all know why we're here. So let me ask you a question then. Why the big secret? Truth seekers, we're really the true leaders. Keep it grooving, the movement like two-seaters. Turn it up, we're knocking through both speakers. It's time we get the truth from the big secret keepers. Hey, truth seekers, we're really the true leaders. Keep it grooving, the movement like two-seaters. Turn it up, we knocking through both speakers. It's time we get the truth from the big secret keepers. Hey, break it down. Now can you peep it? They're deceiving all the people. Let me ask you, what's the secret? Misinformation and lies, a devious disguise. They want the EMF blast until our brains is fried. Oh, point their beams in the sky. Oh, it's a movie now. This world is all CGI. Their plot is truly foul. But we're here to rise up and bring the real. Time is now, truth seekers. Y'all know how I feel. Truth seekers, we're really the true leaders. Keep it grooving, the movement like two-seaters. Turn it up, we're knocking through both speakers. It's time we get the truth from the big secret keepers. Hey, truth seekers, we're really the true leaders. Keep it grooving, the movement like two-seaters. Turn it up, we knocking through both speakers. It's time we get the truth from the big secret keepers. Hey, why the big secret?
All right, truth seekers, how you guys doing today? I just want to welcome you to Forbidden Knowledge TV. It is Tuesday, and I am just so excited to be in here as always, and hope you all had a great weekend. So before I get started, let me give a quick shout out for people in the chat tonight. We have a few people here. So we got Anonymous Rex, we got Byron, we got Vash the Impaler, we got let's see, Candace, we have Ikadaya, and that's it. We got Sherry here as well. Nuris is here. Kevin James is here. Golden Lady is here. Orlando is here as well. Shots is here as well. We have C. We got Miss Jenny. We got Sterling here as well. So welcome to the show, Miss Jenny. We already said that. Audrey, we got you. Trush Horn, we got you. Joanne, we have you. And the list goes on and on. If I missed you, definitely charge it to the mind and not the heart. So we got a great show for you right now. We're going to get started in some areas today that we're going to talk about the Roswell, New Mexico crash. There's been a lot said about Roswell, New Mexico crash, but there's also been many stories that has been written, many books that has been written. There's been so much content out there, but I think today we're going to go through some things that may have been missed from some reports that I found, which is a timeline of events. Now, these events is going to take place within the days of what's happening. There's going to be a lot of information we're going to cover, and I'm just going to go over some of these events. We're going to ask the question why. We figure out what has happened there, and then, of course, we know how they've covered it up. But in the meantime, we're going to try to get down that rabbit hole of why. Because when I reveal to you tonight some of these notes I have on my screen of some of these events in the chronological order that they're going to, it's going to be like, well, there was so much evidence of people that was involved in the finding of what happened in the crash, to a point to saying, how did they cover it up as great as they did? How did they get so many people to literally change their minds, their words, their stories over the years? And so we're going to talk about that as well. And so I'm just kind of like, man, you know what? This is a huge conversation that we're going to have. Now, as always, I want to invite you to get involved in what we're doing, get involved into the conversations, involved into the chat, because that's how we roll here from there. And so with that being said, I will get ready to crank us up with our normal opening. And once again, there's a few more people, Girlfriend of Bay, Built to Win Entertainment. I want to say, Mike, all of you, of course, our greatness of our show producer is in the house as well. We got the Social Dig is in the house. We also have Andrew Scott as well. So we got a group of people that's here today, and so we're going to get it. So as always, I got my energy up. I got my water here, and so it is time to do the deal. All right, it's Tuesday night. Truth Seekers. I'm Roderick Martin. You are here at the Roderick Martin Why the Big Secret Show on Forbidden Knowledge TV. As always, you could have been any other place tonight, but you chose to be right here, right now. And with that being said, I'd like to thank you. I'd like to bid you good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be in the 24 time zones that the show's aired. And we also come with a big promise in Texas. But first, yes, I just revealed to you, I'm in that jumbo state. This is where those UFOs come out to play. And it is a Texas thing, y'all. So we're going to be the boldest, baffling, belligerent YouTube channel in the world, creating captivating conversations that will certainly cause controversy. Join me and the show producers, the researchers, and everybody behind the box as we go down the rabbit hole when it comes down to this particular topic tonight with Roswell, New Mexico. As always, our show is not PG, so put the kids to bed, all right? So if you have not fixed dinner, as always, I got that Texas recipe in the house for you. A little bacon, some butter, some biscuits, some syrup. Yes, you can do that really quick. Get it out right there, and you're all done. So with that being said, let's get things on the road here. Get a shout out to the Super Chat Anonymous Rex. I appreciate you doing that. It's kicking things off. That means it's possibly going to be a great night. So I appreciate you jumping out in front of things, and we'll kick that off right now. So, all right, I'm just excited about what we're going to be talking about from here. So hopefully you are too. If any of you familiar, and you all should be familiar with the Roswell crash when it comes down to it, because why? It was a crash. Now, there's also been many stories behind this, many things that have written, like I said, in the pre-game warm-up here. We have, let's say books been written about it, movies been written about it. I've done even several TV shows. One in particular is on Fox Tubi, and I'm in that particular show. And it all boils down to there were several crashes that happened in Roswell. A lot of people don't talk about all the details, Of course, we know the alien bodies were discovered there as well, and it's always been one of the biggest cover-ups of all time. In fact, I think it was the beginning of all cover-ups. It was the beginning of the tool of weather balloon that was used. Actually, probably went back to the Battle of Los Angeles. Was probably when they started talking about we can get away with the weather balloon. But outside of that, I want your participation. So if you are familiar with the story of Roswell, New Mexico, besides the fact that there was a crash, besides the fact that there was probably some alien bodies allegedly recovered, that's what everybody's known. But tonight, I'm going to go through a a timeline of events. I'm gonna give you some stuff that you probably have never heard. I'm gonna talk about some things, and so we're gonna work with that today because we're gonna go through a series of events. Now, all right. So again, let's kick it off. Mike, appreciate you. So now we have two chats, and again, that's the signal that it's gonna be a great year, more likely. So I'm glad to have going with that as well. So first of all, how's everybody weekend? And I hope you have had a good weekend. If you have not been keeping up, I don't have total stories yet, but we're supposedly now found a new energy source that they're going to be working on. And we've all talked about that in the history of ufology about free energy. So that's another story. We'll cover it pretty soon from there. And those are big headlines. I'm just throwing this out here, the one that was most concerned. And this was about an 8-year-old taking loaded weapons and everything to school. And what does that have to do with us? It has to do with everybody in society at this point and why and what is going on there. But that story is out there. Maybe our show producer maybe post a link to that later and that thing. And I just, for anybody with kids, it's why that is out there and why it concerns me across the board. So once again, if you are familiar with the story, then we're going to get down to some facts real quick, and it's going to be a great timeline of show. So I want you to sit back and get ready for that. It's all about what happened in 1947. Okay, and this is in July. There was a crash and flying saucers that was recovered in the Roswell area. Now, of course, we all know at that particular time the word flying saucers was given by Kenneth Arnold, and so you're looking at where this terminology came from, and really because he saw a sighting that he felt that how if you were to skip across water like a saucer, then that would be how it would have turned out. So to no one's surprise when this happened, then it spread it like wildfire at first, and it spread it all across the world that we finally have our first flying saucers. The rumors are true; they truly exist. And within hours, this Roswell place became the center of national attention, and everybody was like, "Okay, what's really happening? We need to find this out. We're not alone." And within 24 hours after that, then all of a sudden the story changed and the military stepped in. And those are some of the key players. But we're going to go into some players that you did not hear about, some people on the ground, some of their stories, their background, how they had, and even from moments to minute timelines that led up to the big cover up, I think, of all times. But then what you're going to realize is this thing really happened. And there was a lot of people involved when it came down to this. And the biggest reason is this: what is really happening? And from there, and know that it was not the first one, of course. This is going to be what's going on from there. Okay, so let's go into some of the details I want to share with you, the sequence of events. It all started Wednesday. I got my notes here. July 2nd, 1947. Now, the actual event that we all have heard of is on the 8th. So I'm going to bring you up to speed to there was stuff that happened prior to that. And these are some documents and things that I uncovered in the storyline from some reputable people. And so therefore, I'm going to share it with you in this show. So about 9:15 p.m., this is on July the 2nd, Mr. and Mrs. Dan Wilmount, that's their name, they reported seeing a oval shaped object, and they call it like two inverted saucers faced mouth to mouth. So imagine the look of that particular situation. In fact, I may have a kind of a picture of a saucer that they were speaking about. But anyway, so they reported something like this, and one of the questions was, um, what everybody was going back in. What is this? What is this? Well, anyway, so they were saying that this thing was moving at a high rate of speed over their house in Roswell, New Mexico, and the object was heading northeast, okay, northwest. And what did that matter for us? But here's the deal. During a thunderstorm in Corona, New Mexico. So if you're getting this now already, there's multiple reports in different areas of whatever this thing is flying around, and this was there long before that in Corona, and this is where Mac Brezel, this is the guy who is the one that's the focal point of the story, who found the actual debris, that he heard a tremendous thunderclap that sounded like an explosion. Okay, but it was somewhere different from the rest of the thunder, so he heard it a little different. But and then also there was more other people that reported this as well. And so once again, this goes up into here we go. Appreciate it. Super sticker from Carol. All right, so that's 3 already. Like I said, it's going to be a good year. I appreciate it. Thank you for and I am shouting out to all 3 of you who have done it already. Appreciate you as well. So at this point, William Woody Woody reported that he and his father watched a bright meteor described as white with a red tail streak crossing the sky on the horizon. So this is July the 2nd. And bid you not, the whole history of Roswell crash is July 8th. So now I'm giving you some inside information, a chronological report. This is some real stuff, and we're going to do that. Okay, so once again, we have Mike and Jay. Jay says, "What's up, Billy?" Mike says, "Where's Billy?" Everybody in sequence, give Mike the whole story that he probably have not figured out on Tuesday night, but he deserves to know from you, where is Billy Carson? Give him the story. All right, because we get this so much, and we've been here every Tuesday night for however long now. So I just like for the audience to just give Mike that question. Well, anyway, so at this point, July, and obviously, at the in for Jay to say what's up, Billy, and Mike said I just tuned in. Okay, Mike, you're all good. All right, so Thursday, the next day. Okay, Thursday, the next day is July 3rd, 1947. Now, because it was raining, so just imagine it was thunderstorming the night before. So Brazel, he was out expecting his pastors, okay? And so just remember, Mac Brazel is the guy that had a farm, a ranch, and he was the one out moving his cattle. And as I'll go into this more, give you some more insight. Now, these are documented storylines that was told somewhere else. And so and now it's all in the report phase, and I'm giving you this inside stuff. Okay. So apparently that Brazel was taking some of these fruit scraps home. He headed home to his closest neighbor, Floyd and Loretta Proctor. Keep this name in mind because we're going to put them into the story as well. So now we got Brazel, we had William Woody, you got Lord and Loretta. See, this list is getting ready to grow like this big of all the people, okay, that had a dealing with Roswell crash. Not what we're being told in public, not of all the stories that came back down to a weather balloon. And so stick with me as we go deeper into this. So he showed the little silver, what he called material that refused to burn and couldn't be cut. So the proctors, so Mac showed it to the proctors. The proctor suggested that he take it to the local sheriff. You're going to find out later the sheriff was saying, oh, God, he wished he never called the military. And for whatever reason, it'll be us to find out. But Loretta Proctor also remembered the wards are being offered for proof of flying disc reality through Mac, and she should claim the money. So there was already this story thing out in these magazines in the store saying anybody who can prove what is going on should be able to get some type of award. So you got this is happening on the side. You got Mac now. We got the proctors involved. They're now getting into the sheriff. We haven't. Remember, everything you've heard, most of us on Roswell was July 8th. That's what history starts at. So I'm giving you things that happened prior to days. So this thing is, and these are things that they've covered up, by the way. So on so later that evening, Brazel removed the large circular piece that he found. Now, there's a metal. These are pieces of material that couldn't be bent. These are things that, and it was like razor thin, but yet strong. So obviously, at this time, we on the United States or in Earth didn't even have merchandise or products or elements that could respond in the way that this is. So they knew this was foreign. They knew it wasn't from here. So later that evening, and of course, according to the plan, uh, according to his father, Bill Brazel, his father either loaded it into the back of a truck, dragged it along besides, he stored it in the livestock shed about 3 miles north of the crash. So already, Mac Brazel stored this stuff. Okay, so he was already saying, "Hey, I got it. I pretty much got it." And remember, all of these people come back later saying weather balloons. Now, there's more. I mean, we're going to go over some stuff. So I just want you to hear all of these details that we're going to go over. Now, Saturday, July the 5th, 1947, this is prior to the world hearing July the 8th, military bases along the West Coast had fighters on standby in case flying discs were seen. And a few bases in Oregon, Washington had planes equipped with gun cameras on alert. Now, why in the heck would this have been happening? Listen to me, everyone. So, from the story, we're talking the military was already on alert, our military in other states about flying saucers. So, obviously, once again, this something had already been happening. I'm not saying we was under some type of, overcast of flying saucers. But for that military base to have fighters on standby tells you in the indicators that there was something already going on behind the channels that these flying saucers had been seen, which kind of contribute to the uh, other sub stories that we actually shot them down. They didn't crash. We shot them down with some magnetic, anti-magnetic or whatever it was. We shot them down. So that would be all right. So Nurse D said they're the first to be alerted. That's correct. I went that. But then when you hear the story, nurse, if I'm pronouncing that right, Nurse D, just forgive me. But if you hear all the history of the stories, we didn't hear about this in pretty much. And let me stop for a minute just to give you all some background real quick. If you did know, I am a UFO investigator. I'm a certified UFO investigator with the MUFON network here in Texas. So I cover all UFOs here in this region, and I work on cases weekly, and that's weekly with two E's, not WEAK for the scholars in here. Okay. And so I work on cases weekly when it comes down to UFOs, and of course, being in several TV shows. So I want to give you why I'm bringing you this information to know the qualifications of what is happening here. Okay. I've been on George Norrie talking about UFOs. I'm in a show on Discovery Channel right now. You can go watch called Alien Endgames about UFOs. Featured in Black Knight Satellite Beyond the Signal with Billy Carson about UFOs, Roswell about UFOs, Gaia, and then also an Ancient Aliens. So I'm bringing you some stuff here that you may not have heard. So those for the folks who want to know. So again, this is what I do. I'm a full-time UFO investigator here as well. So a lot of these things that I'm sharing with you perplexes some things from what we've heard from the data that we've had all these years. So I'm sharing with you some back-ended information. So anyway, now that the military is on standby, that changes the game when it comes down to this, because that means once again, so in Sherman Campbell, and this guy's from Circleville, Ohio, he reported to the sheriff that he thought he had an explanation of some of the flying disc sightings. He found a weather balloon on his farm. Now, this is way back in Ohio. This is days later. So already the story is building up for the weather balloon side. So these people, the big secret keepers, are already at work here. And so it was metallic and it was kite-like appendage. And now under the right condition, as it drifts the atmosphere, it could look like flying discs. Are you kidding me? So already they were setting up that a weather balloon under the right conditions, flying the right distance, of course, could project itself, this ball, to being a weather balloon from everyone else. And okay, so they had a device there. I'm going to skip this part. Let's get down because we're going to head up into some real events, and you're going to hear some stories. You're going to hear later on in the show about the morgue, where there was people that reported working for the morgue that was called in. They actually examined the alien body. So that's later on in the show. Make sure you stick around for that. We're going to be talking about that as well. There was people that this thing was deep. Okay, it's really, really deep. So on Sunday, we got 2 days prior to the actual world news of there was a flying saucer crash at Roswell. All right, so on that Sunday, July the 6th, Brazel, the guy who, remember I was saying that had the farm, he was moving his cattle, which is here. So he had a habit of getting up early. So Norris Proctor completed their chores. Then they drove into Roswell, about 75 miles away. So this thing is far away. And remember, he's already got this stuff hidden in his borns, this crash material and everything else. So he stopped by the office of Sheriff George Wilcox. So now we got him in the game. This is the one who's already, if you look through history, saying he wished like God that he did not call the military. He missed an opportunity. They kicked him to the curb, and he's one of the instrumental pieces. He has an issue with everything. He's heartbroken. He's ticked off to the highest of ticktivity, if that's such a word. But anyway, I mean, you'll hear that part of the story, how they just really did this man wrong. But anyway, while he was waiting for the military office to arrive, Wilcox, which is the sheriff, dispatched 2 deputies to the ranch. So he had only given them directions that was given by Brazel, and the men were familiar with the territory, and Wilcox thought, you know what, he'll be able to find debris in the field. Well, there was a reporter now coming into place. Now, get me where are we getting with this? You're going to hear about all the key players, and as I continue to bring that to your attention, you're going to see this thing stacks up all the way to it was not a weather balloon. So Frank Joyce, which was a reporter and announcer for the radio station KGFL, and this is quote, by the way, he said he called the sheriff and asked if there's anything interesting happening at the office, just coincidental, right? And I tell people all the time, coincidence is God's way of being anonymous. So that's my word. It was just a coincidence. So according to Joyce, Wilcox told him there was someone he should interview, and Joyce talked about Brazel and said he didn't pay much attention to Brazel, what he was saying. So the sheriff was already saying, you know what, I ain't believing the story. So he wasn't believing the story, and the reporter turns around and says, okay, I'll go talk to this guy anyway. It looks like it may be some significance of everything from there. So why do people Alex, why do people assume an alien ship crashed by accident? I just corrected that for you. And okay, so that's one of the things there. And it's always been that way, Alex, that people thought that it crashed by accident. There are some stories that we might have shot that down, which takes me into that whole thing of people asking, do they come in peace? All of the stuff that we hear, because actually, if you go through history, we've probably been the most aggressor out of both parties when it comes down to who's doing what. But anyway, so Brazel said he didn't pay much attention. He was busy trying to run the stations to get some records changing. Now, Colonel William Blanchard, this is where the game changes. He was the commander of the 509th Bomb Group, and Major Jesse Marcel. So you probably, if you've heard the story, Marcel has been a name that we all have pretty much heard, and he was the air intelligence officer. And then there was a man in what we call civilian clothing. Now, this was the counter of intelligence corps. So now we got the counter of intelligence. We have the air intelligence officer. We have a colonel there. Now, all of these people are now stacking the cool in a place or a situation that we are told that it was just a crash or it never happened. So with that being said, let me do a quick reset of thoughts here. How many of you and let's see if we can find, I don't think we got alien heads there, but you can do ones or twos. Give me a one for all of you who believe there was a actual crash in Roswell, New Mexico give me a 2 for those of you who still saying, we don't really know about that story. It's just not something that uh, I can believe that happened. So that give me kind of a good consensus of what's going on here with all of you. So let's see. We got some one. Macy says one. Living one. Uh, Guadalupe. You know, that was my thought trying to use the alien head, and I could not figure out if everybody would do it. But Uno. We got Brian says one. Okay, so we got a lot of one. Laughter says one. Built to win. Now we have someone here says they didn't believe it. So hopefully after I finish the show tonight, you'll get some stuff. Jazz says one. True says one. One socials one. Home sounds good one. And they also recovered energy sources. That's something, Macy, that may be significant today. And I think it's something we should all talk about later or when we get an opportunity about what is happening when it gets down to some of this stuff as well. So we got more ones. So that's great. So we're pretty good. Girl from the base is shot down. All right. So at this point, all of the officers interviewed Brazel, okay, which is the guy who formed, and then they examined some of the pieces of the material. And Blanchard ordered Marcel and the counterintelligence corps agent to accompany this guy to his ranch. So they all said, let's go out here and check this out. So this is all days before the actual, where we heard the books, the stories that there was a crash on the 8th. So obviously at this point, there was no crash on the 8th that the history shows, all of the stories, because they was building all of these cases in the cover-up, and we're on July 6th. That's Sunday, okay? So Blanchard acting on orders from General McCullough. Now, this is another officer. Now, this thing is getting bigger and bigger, right? We got generals involved. We have Betty says one all over USA. That's fine. And Mike says, given the actual proof of what Bob Lazar was exposing, is not outside the realm of possibility. That's fine. Anonymous Rex says recovered bodies was sent to Wright Patterson. You're correct. We're going to get to that and definitely do that. So when you get an opportunity, make sure you smash the like button. Thank you, Javier, for that as well and everything else. Okay, so as the story continues, and like I said, you know, it gets weird when this mortician and these people are now reporting that they saw this body, this whatever you want to call the people that does morticians. Let's go with that. So acting on the orders from General Clements, it passed on to Colonial Thomas Du Bois. Now we got Du Bois, we got the sheriff, we got so many people that this thing is getting bigger and bigger. Now, after all of the military officers left along with Brazel, 2 deputies returned. They hadn't found the debris on the field, but they find burnt area of the pastures. So at this same time, while they're acting like they're investigating, someone else is going out there and starting trying to pick up stuff. But now we see that there is a burnt area. Now, keep in mind, I'm going to expose this, that there was 2 possible 2 crashes. We only hear about 1. In some of these stories that you're going to hear tonight, it was 2. And that's been left out of history. So stick around. We'll get to some of that as well. So after the military, okay, the aircraft from Roswell was met at Fort Worth Army Airfield by Du Bois. Colonel Clark, he received a plastic bag with debris and walked from the Command B-26 to fly it on to Washington. Now, what concerns me the most on this, they're not finding an entire craft. At least that's what we are beginning to get left out. Everybody seems to be finding little pieces of debris, some in 2 feet, some, 1 foot. Then you got the story of some hieroglyph writings that's on stuff. So all of this stuff is starting to kind of go. Lisa says there was definitely 2 down craft. Yes, absolutely. And a lot of people don't talk about that because they try to cover it up. But we're going to cover some of that tonight because, yep, it is a conspiracy. I agree with you, Bruce. So at this point, though, we got the Air Force involved. We got the CIC agents involved, air intelligence involved. We have the, of course, the local military is involved, people coming from all across the country. We got the military on standby because they've already got reports of flying saucers as though they knew it was coming. So at this point, we're going to look at it on Monday, July 7th, 1947. Now, we're one day from the world finding out what is really happening. Now, this Monday, Brazel takes 2 military officers out to the crash site, okay, according to Marcel. And the debris field was 3/4 of a mile long. Boy, is that not from here to 3/4 of a mile. That's a lot of place, and 200 to 300 feet wide. So if a debris field is 200, 300 feet wide, something big crashed. Y'all agree with me? If we're talking about obviously a debris field, almost a mile long, but 300 feet wide, is that not something? Come on, help me out with this. Do y'all think that was something bigger than what we've been told that's possibly was crashed? 300 feet wide? These are actual facts. Actual facts. And so, but according to this, Bill Brazel said that it looked like something had touched down, boom, and then skipped along. Okay. And the largest piece of debris was found at the southern edge of the gouge, which is way somewhere else. Okay. Way somewhere else. And so let me kind of look here and see where we're at here. All right. So at this point, this is probably now getting where we really need to look at what is really being told. So we're going to get ready for our first break real quick. And I want to, just kind of throw some information out there for you and also give some people some shout outs that's supporting the channel with their shout outs and everything else. And so let me get ready to do that right as we speak right about now. And let me find them a little background there as well. All right. So first we're going to give some quick shout outs. So I want you first to kind of know what's going on there. Also know that we have a Hidden Secrets cruise coming up, and this is for a UFO cruise. So if you are interested in going there, make sure you go to hiddensecretscruise.com, drop down menu and pick who told you about it. You heard it here on Forbidden Knowledge TV, Roderick Martin. Here's some of the speakers that's going to be there as well. So definitely check that out when you get a chance at hiddensecretscruise.com. For the rest of you, if you know that if you have not subscribed to here at Forbidden Knowledge TV, now is the time to go ahead and do that. And then also, definitely, we're on our mission to hit 100K. So I want your support. Go over to Roderick Martin, Why the Big Secret on YouTube and subscribe to that channel as well. And please, you'll get some great content and some things that we're going to be happening there. On Why the Big Secret website, you have an opportunity to be part of our private members area. There's a waiting list right now. This is going to be for people like Starseeds, Empaths, and all of our UFO investigators, places that we cannot talk out here with this uncensored or censored content. It'll be uncensored there. There'll be a lot of things that you're going to hear live streaming, and there's going to be groups that we can form within the groups itself. And so we'll be able to live stream within our own personal communities. So go to whythebigsecret.com and get on that particular waiting list and get some of the details from there. As you all know, there's the Awakening Expo 2023 coming up next year, hosted by the Forbidden Knowledge World Tour. Definitely, this is going to be in the UK starting out. It's going to be all over the world. And as you can see, the queen of Forbidden Knowledge TV, Elizabeth, is going to be there at the top. Donnie Arcade, Melissa Tittle, Kenny Garcia, and the greatness of Roderick Martin. I'm going to be on the tour as well. We got Jimmy Church. Of course, you got Billy Carson there and Craig and other speakers, Nick Pope. So definitely it is a world tour, and it will be coming to your city as well. You don't want to miss it. Now, as you know, we've been asking, and we're almost done here, a shout out for people to support the channel. And basically, this is people, if you have a podcast, your business, and YouTube channels or whatever you want to do, you get with me. There is a contact us form Yes, we do ask for contributions, and then within that, we're going to give you your shout out. And let me give you the shout out to the people who are already supporting us right now. So let's go with Rebecca. So Rebecca has Clear Space Body Works, and she does tarot reading, spiritual guidance, energy healings, and more. And all I ask is all of you watching, go to her website. If there's a contact spot there, just let her know that you saw it here on Why the Big Secret as well. And then we have books promoting. We're going to promote the Curly Hair Positivity. Now, this is something I think each and every one of you will love. Definitely go there to the website and you can get, there's a website at the top. There's curlyvita.com shop. Use the coupon code forbidden and get 30% off. Man, if you got children and just support this person anyway. This author is just Evita is just wonderful. Anyway, Curly Hair Kids is the books. Comes in Spanish and English, and so she's supporting our channel. We're supporting her. And if any of you got businesses important, all that, yes, it's gonna be an exchange of contribution. But for pennies, you'll be able to hear to 500 people live now and 20,000 people later for the shout out. So, all right. With that being said, we are done there, and we can get back into the show of what we're doing now. And so we already now at that Monday. So we're Monday, July the 7th, 1947. Okay. And we talked about the officers and what is happening, and transpired and brought you up to speed to now and what's going on. And one of the things that stood out the most is the Marcel. He gave a real description of some of the debris, and I'm going to share this with you and give you kind of an idea of what they found and what caught everybody's attention. He said the debris was as thin as a newsprint. So just imagine a newspaper, but check this out, but it was strong but couldn't bend. So as you know, we didn't have any technology, once again, on earth that we made or that we know we've had that is thin as a newspaper but is strong and just couldn't be bent. So which explains, maybe some way that these aircrafts or flying saucers were moving through space or anti-gravity so fast. Well, there was also foil that was when you crumble it, and then it just unfolded itself back to its own state. So in other words, they found material that they would like crumble up, and then when they let it go, it would just go right back to its original position. And there was also what they call I beams that would flex slightly, that some of the writings there were symbols on it. Okay, this is where we all should begin the point of going, what? And hearing what I'm getting ready to say. They found on this like some type of beam that had some type of writings or symbols on it. Anybody remember that, where they found these hieroglyphics and everything written on this stuff? So Magneticus said he's heard about the strange four. Yes. Mario said they gave us technology to get us to whack ourselves. Okay. And so what do you guys think about that? They found material that had some writings of holographics or holographics or whatever you want to call it. Correct me, whatever you want to do. But they found these strange materials on this stuff. And so that alone was the first sign that they was like, no, man, we don't know where this come from. We don't know what this is. But the description of the debris was confirmed by Bill Brazel. Listen to me. Loretta Proctor, remember the Friends? Bill Brazel, which is the guy who it was on his property. Tommy Tyree, Walt Whitmore, Jesse Marcel Sr. or Jr., Miss Valor, whatever her name was, Marcel, his wife, Robert Shirkley, Robert Smith, O.W. Henderson, and Louis Rickett. All of these people at this point was part of verifying what they found. And if you go back in history, all of these stories have been altered to the T. Okay. And so, again, this thing was just ridiculously huge when it gets down to this. And we're almost at the what I'm about to say is July 8th. Now, this is where the world comes into play, and this is going to get really good for us here. So now, Marcel and the CIC agent, they walk the perimeter at this point, and they start looking for more debris, and then another crash site. You hear me? They already knew that there was another crash site. So they started looking for this thing, but they said they didn't find anything. Finally, they returned and spent the remainder of the day collecting debris. Now, all of this debris, you would think somebody still got something hidden at somebody's house right about now. Because you're talking little bitty pieces that could have been put up, stored, hidden. And I bet you there's somebody out there right today have this debris, pieces of it in their home, hidden all these years, just waiting for us, the truth seekers, to find them and get that debris and change the world story of history. So at this point, we have General Nathan Twiney. He's the commander of the Air Material Command and the parent organization at the Wright Field in Ohio. So we're talking way back in Ohio here. He changed his plans and suddenly flew to the Army Field Base in New Mexico. So all of these people now, like, okay, we're coming in on this thing. We're coming in on it. And so it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And now we're going to go with July 8th, 1947. This is where the story most of you've heard. This is where it began with the public, the news, the accounts. But like I say, stick around because there were people who found those bodies. There was morticians that was called in who told their stories and then what they saw. And I'll give you a description of that momentarily into the show. So make sure you hang around to hear that because people, we're not alone in this universe. We're not alone. And there are some in what's so ironic about these stories is that we are getting these six finger creatures with an opposing thumb. We've found consoles that control different situations. That was some story me and Lonnie was going over the weekend about a crash ship on the moon that they found a lady, so to speak, and all of a sudden this lady is in the cockpit, and this thing could have been millions of years old, but the body was preserved, and the way she was controlling the ship, and I don't know if they tried. Lonnie, did they try to say the woman was a black woman or something? I forgot our whole conversation. Maybe put that in the chat with that. But where I'm going with that, the history of these six fingers. This was in making contact in the Brazilian capture and everything else. You definitely want to watch that. So on Tuesday, July the 8th, let's now get our drum roll. 2 a.m. Marcel, excited by the find, stopped at the house along the way to the base. He was awakening his wife and son to show them the material. All right. And they spent an hour examining it and scattered on the kitchen floor. And Marcel was like, hey, I'm not breaking regulations since no one, he said it was classified yet. Okay. And so he also, as he talked to his family, and then he went to collect it. He loaded it in the car. He drove to the base. By 6 a.m., this is where it gets tricky. Marcel and the counterintelligence officer corps, the agents who visit with Blanchard in his quarters, telling him what they seen. In later years, Marcel would insist that he knew the moment that they saw that debris, that the crash was something that's not made from Earth. You hear me? So right there, 6 a.m., this is where one of the military people is like, okay, wait a minute. What we found, we now know is not manufactured on Earth. So this is before all of a sudden the cover-up is about to start. So Blanchard, he called the Providence Marshal, another person identified in the 509th history as Major Edwin Easley. Now, see, they try to say Private Marshal, and that's a fake name that they gave us, but like I'm giving you some insight. But this guy was later identified as Major Edwin Easley. Look him up. Let him know he got busted. We got him. And Blanchard ordered easily to post guards on the roads and the crash site, denying anyone access without official business. And then he ordered Easley and Brazel and have him to take him to the crash site. Now we got all these different. Remember, I tell you how our military really doesn't work together as one. So we got all of these different military people ordering this guy to take these people, different people, to this guy's site, and then the 8th Air Force headquarters in Fort Worth relayed to Blanchard message chain of command, alerting the Pentagon. Now the Pentagon is involved about this strange material. No one said nothing about the bodies. Why? Well, I'm glad you asked, and we'll get to that in a minute. But a special flight from Andrews was arranged for the men to come there to come on out to the flight. Now, 7:30 a.m., I'm giving you up to date here. The regular morning staff meeting had been moved up. Blanchard discussed that he had found what they should about it, attended a meeting. Now, here's all of the people that was there. And I'm giving you this reasonably because it was just so many witnesses, so many people, so many military folks that worked on this crash. And then all of a sudden the weather balloons come out. And how do you shut up that many people is what I'm also concerned about. And I ain't gave you all the details. And so it's like, it just makes you wonder.
This was a conspiracy that had to get all those people to lie.
And true enough, they would have to get all these people to lie, and so maybe they did. So here's the deal. Attended the meeting was Marcel, the CIC man, Louis Rickett, Lieutenant Colonel James Hopkins, he was an operational officer, Major Sanders from the base, Major Israel Brown, the personnel officer, Lieutenant Colonel Ulysses S. Nero, the supply officers, and then they reason believe that the Colonel Horton was there, and Colonel Fernand was there, and Walter was there, and all these people was there. But you go back into all the books, you don't see none of that. Okay. And that leads me to why we now have the cover-ups that we have today. Y'all know that, right? And so this is and we understand why, not why, but how and what they have done. And the question is why? Why is it that we're denied this type of information and everything else from there? And so it also gets down to what was happening with the MPs, how they started locking people up, that started talking about this story. So now the military is bringing in all of these guards, and it's the plot sticking now. So because by 9 a.m. now, the CIC agent and his assistant, they drove to the crash site following other MPs. Now we got military police now is covering this thing up. They were stopped by the guards and had been posted early. And when they arrived, they saw the MPs had already been stationed around the debris field to protect it. They're using the word protection. We know they already starting to cover up. But why is it? Let me ask you, and if any of you served in the military, put it in the chat. First, we'll give you a quick shout out. But I got a question. Lisa said the military went through the town threatening everyone. Yes, they did. And we're going to get to that in a minute. That is great. The military went through the town threatening everyone, scared the children. They told everyone they would be killed. Man, they was ruthless. They were truly ruthless. And you're going to hear more of the stories when it came down for them covering up what happened at Roswell, the crash itself. And they stopped the guards. And of course, Blanchard and a member of his staff was on phones confirmed with higher headquarters. Marcel and some of the wreckage was ordered to be moved to Fort Worth at the Brigadier General Roger Ramey. And so this guy can expect it. So anyone else? Someone else says yes. Army for 6 years. Appreciate it. I think that's pretty good. Hillary says I was an MP and Russian linguist. Okay, cool. All right. And yes, thank you all for your service and everything else. The reason that I asked that question is it possible, as we hear in this story, there were so many compartmentalized factions of our military? Why weren't they all working together? Do some come in the Air Force, or who's over who when it comes down, okay, we're going to take this equipment. No, this is ours. No, this is yours. As you see, we had the Air Force, we had the Army, we had all these people involved, the Pentagon, but they all was, it seems they was working each other trying to get a piece of the pie. Is that possible? Is it possible? That is the question that I want to know. And if you've been in the military, just let me know. Is it compartmentalized that bad, where the factions are not together as one as our military itself, or depends on who's the highest ranks? It's our story now. The rest of y'all move on. And that appears to be some of the staples of things that they were doing. And I just thought that was pretty interesting from there. Um, it's hard to say back then. Okay, gotcha. All right. So, yeah. And so at 11 a.m., all right, check this out. Walter Hawk finished the press release and was prepared. Now, this is what the everything changes. So y'all pay close attention. This is where I always say your eyes are useless when the mind is blind. This is where they just said, you didn't see it, you ain't going to believe it. We ain't doing it. So at 11 a.m., Walter Hawk finished the press release and was preparing it to take it to town. The first paragraph said this. Listen to me. It said, many rumors regarding flying saucers became a reality yesterday. All right. So this is what the world began to hear. This thing passed everywhere. So he took it to the first one of the radio stations, and by noon, he gave a copy to this release, both radio stations and both daily newspapers. Now, the CIC men at the ranch checked it on the ground. The guards were posted around the gouge, around the debris field, and finally on the hill. So they was preparing to make sure when this story got out, nobody came. So they admittedly, okay, this was from the military. Y'all hear me out. The military themselves posted a news report that says the rumors that regarding flying saucer, because they knew the public was already looking for them. Remember, there was a magazines offering anybody rewards, which Brazo's friends, remember, told him, hey, take it to them, get you some money for this stuff, right? So we have already been hearing about flying saucers, because at this time in the 40s and 50s, it was a huge, huge ordeal. Flying saucers were seen everywhere. And then you got your Foo Fighter stories, you got all of those things. So this is churning now. And so the government acted upon this. And here's the challenge. What made them change? Our government at that one moment had a moment of decency. The big secret keepers had a moment of, what's the word I'm looking for? Righteousness to the public. They had a moment of whatever their tenure for us was, and to admit the truth. They put it out there and said, the many rumors regarding the flying disc became a reality. They wanted to take the shock off the people for a moment. And all of a sudden, everything changed from there. So by 12 p.m. noon, every point of contact in Roswell reported that they were swamped by calls. Everybody. Because now, they had that little wire. It's out there now. Boom, it's hitting the wire. And Sheriff Wilcox, he reported calls from Europe, Asia. This thing swirled around the world. And we're talking news within hours, get out to the entire planet, okay, that this is where we are, and from there. And so Art McKitty, he was the editor of Roswell Morning Dispatch, said that the moment the press release hit the wire, it was out there, that he was on the phone. Roswell. Walter Hawk said the same thing. The world was trying to learn what happened in Roswell, because this is the first time our military said, all right, guys, what you've heard is out there. So we put it out there. So the first special flights from Washington arrived. On the planes was the warrant officer, Robert Thomas. This is inside information I'm giving you. Thomas and his men were in uniform on arrival, but they quickly changed to civilian clothes to hide. These men will remain at Roswell throughout this whole retrieval. The phone at the base had started ringing, that Blanchard was irritated so much because he couldn't get a phone line in order to halt. So they was like, we got to do something about this. Sheriff Wilcox, he was wondering what happened at the crash site, and sent 2 more deputies. This time they ran into a quorum thrown up by the army and were turned back. Okay, so check this out. Yes, I thought about that too, Helios. I was like, there goes the men in black, and that's where they showed up. And just you hear all these little innuendos in these stories. So it is possible. Yeah, it was the men in black. It was probably the men in black showed up and and so go back to it, Sheriff Wilcox, who was the sheriff of the town, who was the big dog. Now he was like, what happened at the crash site? So he goes back out there, and this time they're gonna like, dude, you can't come. So they slapped him in the face. Now he was one of the heroes. He the one got the information from Brazil and said, okay, let me go and call the military. Now he ain't even in the game. They won't even let him see the stuff anymore. He is like, all right, I saw it already. I'm the one who called you. Why now can I come back and see it unless there was more findings that we'll talk about here in a moment. Like I said, it was 2 crashes and they found some alien bodies, and we're going to get to that in a moment as well. So the phone call rang. This guy's upset now. He can't see it anymore. The army now, all of this stuff is changing now, big time. So here, I want you to hear me out now. This is getting ready to get interesting. I call this the threat part of this. The army arrived at the second crash site and was horrified that they found civilians there already. So they're now saying it was 2 sites. So was it a crash? Could we have shot down 2 different flying saucers? Or could it have been they crashed in their own? Would they happen to have, what's the word I'm looking for? That kind of a malfunction that 2 flying saucers will go down in the same area based upon they both having issues, engine trouble or whatever they was having. Now, remember I told you in the middle of the story at the beginning, we were already on alert from other states. So were we under some type of, you know, I don't know, some type of flurry of from flying saucers? Was it something we didn't know about that was already hovering around our country and people that we were on alert? But anyway, the army came to the next site. They are ticked off because there were civilians. This is where she was talking about in the chat, where they was threatening everybody. So they rounded these civilians up and told them that they stumbled on some national security aspects. Here is our big secret keepers, and they was mentioned, and the officer in charge told them that the government will be able to find them. Listen to me. They told these people, never mention what you've seen, and we will find you. So do you imagine how much history? Imagine how much history that is left out in these stories because the big secret keepers have already threatened some of these people and told these people if they told anything, we can find you. We're going to find you. What would you do right now? Any of you, if you walked out into some field and you saw a crashed UFO in today's society with the freedom of speech we supposed to have like we did then, and all of a sudden you were told you better not say nothing from the government, would you comply? Would you comply? Would you really comply to them telling you, we know where you are and we're going to find you if you talk about UFOs? Now, reason I'm bringing that part up, you all remember now we have Whistleblowers Act. We have all these things. Over the years, there's been so much cover up and fear from people talking about these things. But back then, it was as blatant as it could be. Christopher says, I would not say a word. Anyone else? Anyone else? I mean, today, if you were approached after you landed or you found a crash site, you sit in there and they show up and says, we know, you know, now obviously they can't go out and just whack some people, right? But would you fear that? Anna says depends. They didn't threaten the entire. Did they threaten? Yes, they didn't threaten these people's families. They told them, if you would talk, we know where you are. They escorted them off the sites. One person was carrying wreckage, and they put it on a plane. And about 2:30, Blanchard, okay, let me give you some story, decided that it was time to leave. And so he definitely, there was too many phone calls. This is the guy at the office, the sheriff. And so he was like, I'm getting out of here at 3 o'clock. Marcel, who has been told what was going on in Fort Worth wreckage, he got on out of here. And this thing is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. John Boyle, check this out. He was a reporter for the radio station KSWS, and this was in Roswell. He tried to reach the crash site. Now, according to someone else, Merle Tucker and Lydia Slippy, whatever her name, they worked at the parent station in Albuquerque, mentioned that there was a crushed dish pan, and told her to hang on. So they're already spreading this word, okay? But moments later, she was trying to get something over the teletype. That's what they was using. It began typing out an incoming message from the FBI. So this is weird. So she's out. She said she was like trying to put it out. Then an incoming message all of a sudden started coming in from the FBI. Now we got the FBI involved. The FBI is involved, and so she was ordered to not complete the transmission because the items were national security interests. So once again, for those of you said, if they showed up and they told you it's national security, you're not going to talk about it or anything. So Marcel was at the office, and okay, so we're getting there now. We're going to get to in just a moment where, and I'm going to skip a few timelines for sake of time because I got it all listed for you. We're going to get into this alien body stuff where the mortuary pretty soon was found or called in, and one guy thought there was a crash in the priest and or whoever, and he thought he was just going to go pray over some people. He ended up praying, some aliens, okay, which obviously I don't know why they thought that would work, where they figured our prayers and their prayers would work for them, but obviously they did, and they went forward with that, and pretty much. So we're going to get into the bodies. I'm going to skip over a few timelines just for the sake of time for the show. We're going to get into the bodies that was found there, and we'll just kind of go with that in as well. So, or give me a I don't want to hear the negative side, but give me a 1 if you enjoying the information tonight. Just give me some 1s. Let me see. Let me just feel, that it's okay doing what we're doing tonight. And why are you doing that? Why are you putting those 1s up there? I hope you are. I got something I want to share with you real quick. Let me see if I can bring this into fruition of what we're doing here. Yeah. So, all right. So at this point, let me go back to the chat. All right. Oh, we got some good. Wow, man, y'all doing it. Look at that. Much love for the 1s. Much love for you. We have a story that me and the show producers and researchers are working on, and then we kind of give you a hint of the next show. And thank you for the 1s. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. And tell me what you think. We're going to be doing a show on the secret symbols of the dollar bill, where we find in this owl hitting right up there in the dollar bill. We're talking about all of 13, everything with 13 and words going with the numbers and all that stuff. This is going to be our next show, and just kind of wanting, we're working toward it. We're finding I think there's some connection we're trying to find back into the Egyptian times, to where it's connected to the dollar bill, the Freemasons. We're going to try to see if we're connecting some stories of the Osiris and what else we was talking about. Not the Osiris, but yeah. Remember he was cut up to 14 pieces, but they only found 13. And now why is the number 13 so significant all the way back into our dollar bills, and why the big secret? We want to know in there. So is that something y'all want us to continue? We're researching that for a show either next week or the week after with the show producer and everything else. I just thought I'd throw that out there for you to let you know it's coming. So let me know if that's something that we would get into pretty much. But anyway, I love the 1s. I really do. All of you who put the 1s in the chat. Okay, let's get into the bodies. Somebody said the dollar never gets a new design. You wonder why. Let me tell you, through our exploration, we're going to share some stuff with you about this dollar bill. you're gonna probably want to take it out your pocket. I don't know if they just, man, these something is happening far beyond, far beyond. Yes, the loss of a right. Yes, that was the part. Yep, Brian. I just didn't want to say the word, but yeah, you on it from there. Spider webs is what Magneticus says. So, all right. So, is that something we're going to hear about? We're going to get into that. So, make sure we spur at the word. We will get into that from there. So, all right. And here we go. We have the bodies. Now we're moving up in the story of Roswell crash, and there was bodies. Okay, and Blanchard and the members arrived at his ranch and was taken to a second crash site where bodies was located. So, like I told you, there was two, and the bodies were loaded in the back of a truck, and they was covered up by a tarp at the time. And in Roswell, the base hospital. Listen to me now. This is where it gets really interesting. The base hospital began to call the local mortuary, all right, and asking questions about preservation of tissue and what specific chemicals would they use. Now, the mortician, his name was Glenn Dennis. I've had some stories behind him in many of the shows and everything else. Thank you, Jason. Yes, we're gonna have a great show next week. So basically, y'all checked it out for show. And let me make sure here. I'm sorry. There we go. And they was like, okay, Javriel says smash the like button. Yes, make sure you guys still ones. All right. I'm really glad we got the ones popping up. Y'all make sure y'all smash the like button and all of that and thumbs up and all those good things. I did make my time in getting y'all a special picture for that. Boom, do that right there. And that is for you. All right. So the bodies, they began to call around to the local hospitals and mortuary asking questions. And the mortician, Glenn Dennis, reported, this was a mortician, he reported he received 4 to 5 phone calls about it and decided that it must have been a crash. He was like, okay, if they keep calling about this, it's a crash. I need to do my civic duty. I need to run up there and see what's happening. So Louis Ricketts said an unscheduled flight from Bowling Field, Washington arrived. Now we got people from Washington coming. And he gave the crew a sealed box with wreckage in it. So now the story is now thickening that there was 2 crashes, which mostly all we report about in the books and stories of Roswell, that there was one. And we're calling it a crash. So what's the coincidence that 2 flying saucers, and remember earlier, we was already on military alert some kind of way in other states about flying saucers. So, and they also always had the capabilities of flying to A to B very quickly. Okay. And so at this point, and there was always rumors that we shot them down. Okay. And everything else. And so all of a sudden, a member of the squadron, he was told to climb into the back of the truck of the second crash site. Okay. He was told not to look under the tarp. His name was Melvin E. Brown. So we got his name in this report. Melvin was told, don't look in the back of this truck. So imagine a pickup truck at this time, probably an old 47 Chevy. I don't know what they look like by then, but this truck in the back of it, and if you are on staff as a military, and all of a sudden you got this tarp, and he said, man, don't look under this thing. Okay. So, but everyone's back was turned, and he did. Melvin reported under the tarp were bodies of an alien flight crew. Now, why would he use the word flight crew? Flight crew. People were referring to this flight crew. Now, we're going to be covering some stories in the future about, and let me tie something in for all of you. We also have some documentation of conversation of a alien person that survived a crash, had a conversation with a lady, and they documented it, or she documented it, or she gave it to someone else, to explain who they were, what was happening. And I don't know if all this ties into that, but what's going on with the earth, all of these things. So we're going to be talking about that in a future show. We're going to tie all this thing. You guys, oh my God, you're about to get blown away. Some stuff is going to be on the Why the Big Secret channel on YouTube. Lonnie, put the link for our website in the chat, please, ma'am. And because some content you're going to find there, and we need you to make sure you subscribe to the channel, share it, because you're not going to be disappointed into what you're going to be hearing there. Yes, we're gonna. Yep, and Jay hit it right on the button. Yes, we're going to be going through that, Jay, thoroughly. All right. So, and I don't think a lot of people have heard of that. And we're talking to the author to see about giving you all a copy of that so make sure you get on our newsletter, email address, and everything else. So we're going to be doing that as well. All right. There's a link there. Make sure that you definitely check it out. There is a link right there, YouTube at Why the Big Secret. Yeah. And you can definitely get to the link from there and you see it up there. So make sure you guys jump on that as well. So, oh, yeah. All right. So there we go. Let me find how to hide this. All right. So now we got the bodies. And this is where it gets tricky. He was told that Brown said he looked under the cart. He saw the bodies. And let me give you a description of what he said. He said that these bodies, looks like that. Yeah. Yeah. He said the bodies had a large head with big old eyes. This is what he said they look like. All right. So we got alien bodies at this point. And the story has always been the same when it comes down to what they look like from there. So the bodies arrived at the base and it was taken to the hospital for examination. Doctor, okay. Someone says, why don't you have today, what do you say, up-to-date content on, you mean Why the Big Secret channel? We actually have so much interviews, so much today, up-to-date news and stuff, and I'm behind uploading. And yes, we're going to put a lot of content on the channel. So hopefully that's what you mean on the Why the Big Secret channel, Void. Yes, so we will definitely be doing that. So anyway, real quickly, the morticians, Dr. Johnson pronounced them dead, okay, and did some preliminary work on it. Now, the mortician, Glenn Dennis, still believing that there's been a fatal crash, drove out there, and the MPs on the gate recognized him, waved him through, and he drove into the hospital. He then entered and was met by an Army nurse. She told him to get out before he got in trouble, and the two MPs spotted him and kicked him out of it as well. So those are things that was happening. Now, a guard at the gate reported the truck carrying dry ice. Okay. They decided to put some dry ice there, and he was surprised by the late afternoon delivery. So he said, you know what? I'm going to check the ice house and reveal no records of who called it. So now the ice house, somebody went to the ice house to get some ice, and he's like, hey, don't even try it. We're not doing this. Don't tell nobody what was going on. Now, the guard at the gate reported when he saw the ice that the bodies, listen to me, the bodies were sealed into into a crate, and it was about 15 feet, 4 feet, 3 feet, and the crate was moved to a hangar, and it was left there with spotlights and everything else, and nobody was to approach this thing. Okay, so now all of a sudden, we got July the 9th, 1947, July 9th. The morning newspapers were carrying a story about the flying saucers was a weather device. Now, they done changed this overnight, that they now say, okay, here we go. We need to change the stories. And some people quoted Ramey while others were quoted sources, including senators in Washington, Brazel was still in Roswell, but was still with a company at Whitmore, was trying to protect his exclusive interview. There was a cleanup at the ranch had already resumed and summed up, actually. The military was trying to get everything picked up before any more civilians would come across it, okay? Robert Smith at the 1st Air Transport Unit said they began loading crates in the C-54s about 8 o'clock that morning. The problem wasn't the weight, but the sizes of the craft. They felt if they were empty, they were loading these aircraft all destined to Kirtland. And you see this, so here it is. They was like, we loading all of this stuff, but it doesn't weigh much. They couldn't really understand what was happening. According to Roswell at Army Airfield, the head of the secretary, Elizabeth Cow, the telephone numbers at the base were still tied up, and we still get this thing growing and growing and growing. All right. And so as of today, we're now looking at what was happening. And like I said, I'm gonna skip some of this stuff for the sake of time because I had a lot that I wanted to share with you. But it became really deepened real quickly, and this thing went into July the 10th. Then July the 11th, the debriefings was happening. Participants was all underway, according to Frank Kaufman. They were all taken to small rooms where their recovery of. They now saying this is all classified. Brazel, remember him, the one that found it on his farm. Him and his wife arrived at the ranch, but there was no one around. He began to work. Now they done just messed up this man's ranch. He saw no evidence that the military is around. They done just wiped out and left, and making it look like none of this has happened from there. So where I'm going with this story tonight, and I'm going to bring it home now, I'm going to land the aircraft here, so to speak, is that I thought it was significant for you to know some of the timelines of the events, okay, and what is really happening when it comes down to um, not just Roswell, the cover up, disclosure, all the things that we think that is going to really transpire itself. And the fact that we know what happened, and pretty much here. Someone says, Roderick, please reach out. I'm in Dallas and I have a major sighting abduction of me and my son. I reached out to MUFON and never heard back. Well. I could probably look up that report for you, Black, but here's the deal. Go to the website, whythebigsecret.com. Go into the Contact Us page and put in your contact information. Myself or the producer will reach out to you. We'll set some time up, and I will call you. She'll call you, but more likely I'll call as well, and we'll definitely get the story from there. So he was like to love to make a report. So yeah, you can still do that. You can go to MUFON.com. And it may not be assigned to me. It could be assigned to anyone else. But since you're in Dallas, I'm in Dallas. I would love to sit down with the story. So yes, there's the website, whythebigsecret.com. And any of you, in fact, if any of you have a story, now let me stop right now. I got a bone to pick real quickly, and I know I'm getting off the cuff. Please do not contact me with your email and no contact information. I can't tell. We probably got over 200 emails of people say, oh, here's my story and here's my email. I mean, it's like no contact information. Now I got to go back and email back and forth, and some of them don't respond. Please don't. If you're not understanding I do this for a living and you really want your story heard or you want to come forward, all of that, man, just do it. Be part of the deal. I'm going to reach out to you. It's what I do. I don't want no goose chases. And it saddened me sometimes that we get so many people that have something to say, but they're so afraid of someone doing a follow-up with them. I don't know if you're just venting or whatever. There's nothing wrong with venting. So if you are venting, put venting in the top of the header when you hit that submission page, and then we can categorize that and get to that later on. We just won't make it no priority, because we do. We take these things in priorities and everything else. Also, if you have gotten on our new researchers list, you expect the email to be coming out to you for the new set any day now. And so definitely, if you have said that you want to be part of the research team, we have two factions there. So we definitely want to be able to do that. So And if you can, Roderick, please research my Kilimanjaro, whatever. I don't even know. Yeah. All right. So yeah. So we'll the producer says, we'll have our research team look into it. Man, we have a kick A team. Okay. We got the producers, we got researchers, we have we got all kind of subsets of people that's happening, and this thing is getting ready to just blow up. So I just want y'all to know we take this stuff very serious and everything else. Don't be scared, is what Nicole says. Yeah, Nicole is also definitely part of our team in the inner circle of what we do, and so definitely kudos there to Nicole. And so yeah, I mean, this is what we do. So if you have a story that you want to share, you have anything from there. All right, now super sticker. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Let me tell y'all something. Christmas is coming. I do this full time. I don't get paid like royalty money. But there's a lot of stories that get around New Year's with UFOs and all of that. And if you want to hear these things, when you come over to Why the Big Secret channel, I'm gonna start going into my case files. They gave me permission. I can open up the case files and I can literally right now say, okay, who lives in Atlanta, whatever. I can pull up and tell you all of the UFO sightings in your home area. We might do that one night. I can't tell you the person's name. I can't give you out that, but I can give you a proximity and tell you what the witness said and everything else. Okay, so we're going to be doing a lot of that as well. So as we come to a close and everything else, it is that time. And like I said, we're going to be next week. We're going to be talking about this dollar bill. Look at that right there in the symbol corner is a little aisle. And now they're said that the aisle has some attachment to aliens and abductions. And this owl is significant because it's put on these dollars based from Egyptian cultures. So what the heck do our government today ties into Egyptian cultures, back to Osiris, back to you know what? We're gonna get into that stuff, man. And we holding these dollars in our pockets, and so it makes you wonder what you really got in your pocket and everything else from there. So we'll be talking about that from this particular point. So with that being said, if there's anything else, I want to just give a shout out to everybody in the chat today for being part of the show. All right, so here's the deal. This guy Hillary says the owl is from Bohemian Grove, the cremation of cares. All right, there we go. So we're gonna look into more than that. Nicole said a lot of symbolism with Freemasons. It's a lot of stuff on your dollar bill, everyone. It is a lot of stuff. And like I say, we're going to go into it and find out why the big secret. We need to know, why is it a secret? Why is this stuff sitting here? And we're going to be doing that as well. So, all right. So this has been great. I came in late. Apologies. Thank you. That is Andrea. Thank you. If you're in Dallas, Fort Worth, once again, Texas, we're getting ready to start our first meetup group of people in the Texas area. We probably got a list of 15 or 20. I'm located in Dallas. If you're there, go to whythebigsecret.com. Contact us. Let us know you're in Dallas. You want to hook up. We're going to all hook up, sit around, talk, chat a little bit, share some stories, take some pictures, and everything else. On the website, we got Why the Big Secret gear. Go to whythebigsecret.com. Flow down. You can get your hats. You can get you some shirts, some T-shirts. Anyone who buys a T-shirt, I want you to take a picture in it. You're going to be featured on our website. So the first, 20 people. So go to whythebigsecret.com, get you a shirt. Comes in all colors, males, females, hoodies, you name it, with the brand. And then we got some new brands that's going to be coming out. So definitely go there and check us out from there. And that's going to be pretty exciting once you do that. The only secret, if you don't know. All right. That's it. So as always, your eyes are useless when your mind is blind. So it's always time to think why from that. So we're going to head on out, and we're getting closer to the Christmas season. And I hope each and every one of you are going to enjoy the times where we are. It is a great time for you to love your loved ones. And as much as I love everyone that spends your time and come here and watch the show And then those who go over to the other side of YouTube and to Roderick Martin's Why the Big Secret and personally subscribe there, I promise you, you're going to get some great stuff there too. And we're going to be bringing it all as well. And if you did enjoy the show, hit the like button. Thank you, Liberty, for saying this is a great show. Nicole, thank you. Brian says thank you. And really, I appreciate you guys just don't know that it comes with a great honor to be able to serve you and to be here and bring up-to-date information in what we do. I'm going to definitely give you more than you can expect. And so definitely, again, let's put this thing together. But Merry Christmas. We should be here a couple of more weeks and before the first of the new year. And then we're going to have a great year from there. And then also, I want to admit, I'm in a lot of pain today. So you might have seen me move a few times, a lot of pain. And I swam for an hour for a mile yesterday, trying to get some of this weight back off to get my swag back, and my sexy back. And boy, my body is like, yeah, right. But it's worth it. In your eyes, you're going to watch me trim down over the next 8-9 months and be accountable. So each and every one of you, I'm saying it out loud that, yes, the health is the wealth, and we will be doing that as well. Love you, each and every one of you, and we're going to get out. Okay, somebody says, I'm going to cry. I was born in Dallas in July 1947, lived there all my life, stuck in Florida. I'm sorry, Lisa's. But I'll be in Florida in a few weeks, though. I'll be there in a few weeks. But the whole point is, all right, it's cool. We're out. Let me get us out with the outro. Much love. Your eyes are useless, and when your mind is blind, it's time to think why.